Hey everybody, welcome back to The Pressing Matters. I'm Scott. Thank you for tuning in today and thank you for your support. Have I got a record for you today? This is an orchestral spectacular that will appeal to audiophiles and music lovers and lovers of the avant-garde. This is the music of Edgar Varese, conducted by Zubin Mehta and the Los Angeles Philharmonic Orchestra. I've collected 4 pressings of this to talk about, and we'll get to all that in just a moment. Before I get started, I wanted to say thank you. Thank you for all the support and encouragement you've given to The Pressing Matters and to myself over the last couple of years. We finally passed 10,000, and I'm so grateful to have each and every one of you here. Without you, there is no channel. It's just me talking to myself. So your support, your encouragement, your comments all make this a very special experience, and I'm so glad to have you along on my musical journey. If you're not subscribed yet, please get on board. We'd love to have you here. So thank you so much for doing that. The major composition on this album is Arcana. It's an 18-minute symphonic poem. It was composed in 1925 to 1927. It was revised in 31 to 32. It's scored for a very large orchestra with a large battery of percussion, and that's why it appeals to audiophiles so much. Varese said that the motifs for this piece came to him in a dream. And when I hear the record and I think about that, I'm like, yeah, like where did this music come from? It is so different, so unusual, and such a joy to listen to if you love the sheer beauty of orchestral sound. The premiere was to be conducted by Stokowski at Carnegie Hall. That had to be delayed because more work was needed on the complex scoring of this piece, and it ended up being premiered a bit later in Philadelphia under the baton of Stokowski. When I think back to how this must have came across to the audiences at the time, think of this, 1927, they were probably shocked, outraged, maybe intrigued, but no one could deny that this was different than anything they had heard before. And still, it shocks audiences to this day. I'm going to talk about the complex scoring and the instruments involved in this record. So I have to read this, so please stay with me. It's so interesting. It's scored for 3 piccolos, 2 flutes, 3 oboes, 1 English horn, 1 heckelphone, 2 clarinets in E flat, 2 clarinets in B flat, 1 contrabass clarinet, 3 bassoons, 2 contrabassoons, 8 horns in F, 5 trumpets in C, 2 tenor trombones, 1 bass trombone, 1 contrabass trombone, 1 tuba, 1 contrabass tuba, 16 first violins, 16 second violins, 14 violas, 12 cellos, 10 double basses, 1 timpanist with 6 pedal timpani, and 6 additional percussionists. But that's not all. That's not all. The percussion section consists of a medium-sized gong, a Chinese cymbal or a crash cymbal, a high tam-tam, bass drum, triangle, slapstick, tambourine, snare drum, gyro, Chinese blocks, drumsticks, side drum, suspended cymbal with a lion's roar. The lion's roar is a single-headed drum with a piece of heavy twine attached to the center of the membrane. And 2 coconuts, hollow cylinders of wood, 2 inches in height and 2.5 inches in diameter, covered at one end, 1 in each hand, to be played by striking the open ends of the instrument against a wooden board covered with felt. A xylophone, a glockenspiel, and a rattle, as well as various bells. So, that's quite an assembly of instruments. It's a sonic spectacular. If you love hearing these type of instruments produced in the best sound possible, this is the recording to have. I want to discuss one other recording that came earlier. This is on Columbia. It's the music of Edgar Varese, a sound spectacular. Usually I don't recommend Columbia pressings because they really just don't sound as good as some of the other competing labels. But this is one of the few that I retained in my collection. It is kind of an important recording of this and how most people in America first heard Arcana. So it's recommended, but it's not the sonic spectacular that you'll get on these other pressings. The first one I want to discuss is this. This is the American cover for this pressing. Usually we get a different cover in America for Decca pressing, and the pressing is made in the UK. Well, that wasn't the case with this, and now I realize why I threw it in my vault, because it didn't belong in my permanent collection. It's an American pressing, and these are not recommended. They have a dull kind of looking label. The sound isn't dull, really, but the pressing is not great, and that's the problem with these American pressed Decca recordings. Sometimes it's from a copy tape too, so this one is not recommended unless you can't find anything else. It doesn't sound bad per se, but the noise kind of ruins the experience. So this is the Decca cover. This is actually the speaker's corner. So speaker's corner Deccas are great. This is highly recommended, a great way to get everything on this album. The sound is spectacular, as you can imagine. All of the speaker's corners that I have usually improve on the Deccas. And this one is beautiful, really, really good. I'm not sure if it's still around anymore, but you shouldn't have to pay more than 50 bucks for one of those. They originally retailed for 35 in America. This one is super unusual, and I'm so glad I picked this up. I was like curious about it. It's on a label called Orphic Egg. And Orphic Egg is a subsidiary of Decca. This was released in America, but it's a UK pressing. It's actually from the same plates as the original UK pressing. If I had to guess, I would say Orphic Egg was put together to put together some avant-garde stuff and market it to younger audiences as something, unusual and weird. And of course, the jacket design is unusual and weird too. That's a guess, but Orphic Egg is something that you might want to check out. The pressing is magnificent, really beautiful UK pressing. And that's what the label looks like. So, if you ever come across this, get it. Obviously, it's going to be cheap because most people don't know about it. So, they're looking for the Decca, and this is the Decca. It's just in a different sleeve. So, an excellent recommendation as well. This is the most unusual of all of them. A Japanese pressing on a series called Stereo Laboratory. This one's interesting because they've eliminated one of the compositions on this. All that's on here is Arcana and Ionization. They've eliminated a 10-minute composition called Integrals. So this gives more space to stretch out. And this one is the most impressive of all of them, I think. It has the quietest final for one thing, but beyond that, everything has more space to breathe, and the depth, the detail, the soundstage is immense and deep. Every instrument sounds just right. It sounds perfect. The dynamics are hair-raising. It's amazing. It's a great, great record. I don't know how rare it is, but the only drawback to this one is that Arcana is split in two parts. So it's like 10 minutes on one side and 8 minutes on the other or something like that. But, to get the original layout of the record, the speaker's corner, the Orphic Egg are recommended, or if you can find a UK pressed US pressing, US edition, that would be acceptable too. All of them sound really good. I mean, except for that American pressing, you can't really go wrong. Quiet vinyl is appreciated though, so the UK pressings, if they're clean and mint, are great. The speaker's corner too. This one is in a class of its own. So those are my thoughts on this groundbreaking composition, Arcana, and the music of Edgar Varese. If you've ever heard this record, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Until next time, I'm Scott for the Pressing Matters. Have a great day.